at you. Good Wednesday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Another week. It is not the last show of the week, though, as we are going 4 shows this week.
Yes.
Tomorrow, who do we have?
Al McCullough, the man, one of the majority owners of the National Professional Fishing League.
And you've done your homework for this one.
A little bit. Listened to a lot of shows that he's done already. The guy's been all over the place doing radio and podcast and everything else.
We got someone on today who's been all over the place, too. He's been doing it forever.
He's a seasoned tour veteran.
You have some of his hand... What does he do? He takes the hook out, he epoxies it over.
No. Time out. For a period of time, they were actually sold as a signature series 3-hook spook
that had a signature Zell Rowland on the side.
Yeah.
But then don't you also have somewhere like he unscrewed it and then he epoxies it and then he puts the hook up further and then he paints it black and then he gave it to you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have one of those.
It's big time.
You gave me one, but it sinks now. The epoxy came out, so it's now a, what do they call those that are a twitch bait or something? It's a spook.
Spy bait.
It's a slow sinking spook. It's a technique that's yet to come. It's big in Japan right now. It'll be over here shortly.
All right, so Zell's going to be on here just in a few minutes via the phone. And what was interesting, man, in doing a little research about Zell, any idea when his first Bassmaster Classic was?
Oh, I'm going to guess off the top of my head. First Bassmaster. 83?
1980.
Oh, okay. I wasn't that far off.
No, you weren't. And I'm actually going to play some footage from this because I did not realize where it was in 1980. Any idea? And it was nothing like you think the Bassmaster Classic
was it in Oklahoma?
Today. No.
1980. So 82 was
I was
Paul
shocked.
Elias. No, where was it?
It was on the St. Lawrence River.
The Bassmaster Classic was on the St. Lawrence River?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Thousand Islands or St. Lawrence?
Yeah, Thousand Islands.
I guess I didn't realize there'd been a classic.
I didn't either. So check this out. Let me get this queued up.
In August, probably.
It was in September.
In September on the St. Lawrence River. Wow.
Yeah. Check this out.
I was unaware of that.
Let's see if I can get this queued up.
If this works, it'll be cool.
The best fisherman because we've got so many fishermen out on the water that's just equally as skilled as the guy
Ray?
the next boat down.
I'm not sure who that is.
Other than competition, there must be 20 million out there that enjoy themselves, and that's what fishing is all about. So it's sort of hard to say that old Joe down the road there is better than old Tom up the street. They've both been out there 30 years, so how could you say one's better than the other?
Come here. Best or not, the winning fisherman will have to weigh in more pounds of fish than his competitors. But he can't bring in any more than 5 fish per day. And the fish must be at least 14 inches, otherwise it's back into the drift.
Wow.
We have the first contestant coming in.
It's the first day weigh-in. The end of the
This
day's
is cool.
results may tell us who has found the Thousand Islands pattern.
H.J. Steve. He's a roofing contractor.
Largemouth.
Second Classic. And he had a great day of fishing, it appears. 5 bass for H.J. Stevens. 5 bass alive in the weight.
Look at the scales, man.
11 pounds, 12 ounces of H.J. Stevens.
The grocery scales.
H.J. Stevens.
With the bass sticker to make it look official.
Yeah, just wait.
Cheer as television host Roland Martin rolls in. Does he have the 5 fish maximum? Yep, he sure does.
40 years old, his wife Mary Ann. I'm not sure
He was living in Broken Arrow
He's
then.
living in Broken Arrow.
That's where I live now.
Yeah.
He has gold-rimmed sunglasses on, Mark.
12 pounds, 2 ounces for Roland Martin, folks. Let's give him a good hand. That's a good start. Remember, we got 3 days now.
Look at that.
And here's Jimmy Houston.
We got any Zell sightings on this? No Zell sightings? All right.
But anyway.
There you go.
2 guys from Oklahoma.
Yeah. It's remarkably similar to today's weigh-in still. I mean, it's not much has changed. I guess I didn't realize that you said 1980?
Yeah.
That in 1980 they had already gone to the 5 fish. I thought it was later than that.
No.
So 80, 90, 2000, 2010. So they're almost 50 years with the 5 fish? No. 40 years with the 5 fish.
That's horrible math.
40 years.
Yeah.
Almost 40 years with
How
the 5
cool is
fish.
that, though, man? That old footage is vintage.
That's cool.
That's when I graduated high school.
You know
1980.
Crazy. A lot of those guys that were in that we saw are still fishing.
Yeah.
Jimmy, Zell,
Yeah.
Rowland.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to check out some more of that vintage footage, you just have to search a little bit on the Bassmaster website, on Bassmaster.com. And they have a ton of it archived now. There's also some stuff out on YouTube. But I think the vast majority of it now, you can check it out. Go over to Bassmaster.com and you can see that vintage footage. Great stuff. But I had no idea, man. No idea that the Classic was on the SLR at Thousand Islands.
Neither did I. I'm assuming it wasn't out of Waddington. If it was Thousand Islands, it had to be down more towards Clayton. Is that correct?
I don't know. I'm not sure on that one. All right, so Zell today, here just in a few minutes. And I want to bring something up, Matthew. I am as regulars that listen to this show, I'm getting back in the bowling game and everything. And this is a astronomically busy time for so many of the bowling ball manufacturers, and the similarities that we have discussed on this show numerous times about the two industries. There's one thing that is taking place right now that in some capacity, very little capacity, is being done in the fishing industry that I personally think would be a very, very cool idea. Some of the discussion that you and I had prior to the show, I want to get into it a little bit before we have Zell on and even maybe get his take on it. But right now, this time of the year in the bowling industry, a very, very busy time for doing what they call demo events, where they actually have manufacturers, reps, pros, salespeople show up where the general public can actually come in. They have drill presses set up. They have milling machines set up. You can go in, you can get your bowling balls drilled, and boom, you go right down there and you try it out. Don't have to buy it. Don't have to pay for it. If you like it, guess what? They're going to give you a deal on the bowling ball of your choice. You actually get to try it before you buy it. And these demo days have been enormously successful. Every single brand does it. Every single company does it. They do it all across the country. It's actually a promotional event also because the national pro staff actually comes in and fans get to interact with them. They get to get tips from them. It turns into really an all-day event where you can come and go as you please, and just a fantastic way to engage the pro staffs, to engage the products, to engage everything about the company to try and get the consumer to buy this certain type of bowling ball.
So like the average bowler who bowls in the Tuesday night league can go get his balls drilled by a professional.
Yeah. And actually ask questions about, because it has gotten so complicated now. You almost need a physics degree to drill out a bowling ball but basically you get information that is unavailable to you for the most part without these demo events taking place.
So it's a pretty easy comparison here.
Yeah. So now throw it over to where if, Strike King wanted to have a demo days at Grand Lake, what would that consist of, Matthew?
Their new baits that came out at ICAST, that little Ned rig bait, maybe some of the new spinner baits, crank baits, whatever. They have some of their pros there. They do a hot dog cook-off deal. They fly in some of their top pros. You get to fish with hop on the boat and check out the new baits for 5-10 minutes. You get a discount for showing up. You can bring your baits, your Strike King baits in, and Kevin can show you how he modifies them or doesn't modify them. And I mean, I could see it a lot, lures mainly, but I could see it a lot more with like rods and reels.
Rods and reels. They do it with boats right now, but come on. How many?
Every time it's the demos, the Bass Cat demo rides that they do, and you can go and ride in the boat. But yeah, with rods and reels, I think, you can pick it up in a Bass Pro Shops or at one of the big box stores and spin the handle and stuff, but it'd be cool if you went there and there was line on it and you could tie on a bait and cast it and determine how smooth it was and the drag or the action of the rod. Actually, like I said, it's basically like you get the golf club and hey, Callaway is going to be having a demo deal. You can go down to your driving range and hit the new XZ90 and see if you like it, and they'll check out your ball flight with it. And
I think it's a great idea.
You think there would be enough interest in it?
I think if you positioned it in a way of which it becomes interaction, not only learning, not only testing, not only demoing, obviously, but now you turn it into an event to where the fans can actually engage with these guys, but at the same time, you are engaging your pro staff members to do what? To generate sales.
Here's the easiest way to do it. A lot of these companies have media events, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have the media that's already there. They're going to be doing it with the guys like me and you and Louis Stout and Todd Seisner and all those guys go to them, right?
Yeah.
Well, you could have it a day of that where it's open to the public then.
Yeah.
And it's just a 2-3 hour deal, and you come down and it makes sense because listen, you're not getting someone who's just walking through the Bassmaster Classic Expo because it's an event and they're just there because it's happening. You're getting people who probably have disposable income and want to look and test that product out because they are in the market to purchase it.
Do you think they would sell more rods and reels if they did this, because now the potential customer, the fans, the end user is actually using it?
Yeah, it has to be done right, though. You have to it won't work in a non-traditional fishing market, in my opinion. You have to go where there's a lot of fishermen. I mean, you can't, because I could see one of these where 5 or 6 people show up too. But you do it right with the right people. You advertise in it. You give them an incentive, free burgers, hot dogs, whatever.
Yeah.
Hang out with Gerald. Hang out with whatever.
Well, they do kind of these things at ICAST.
Right, but that's with the media.
I know. That's not 100%, the people that are going to spend the money. So why hasn't some of these demo days been done across? And maybe they have. I'm unaware of them. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have. Maybe some of the fans out there can send us some information where there's actual on-the-water demo.
I mean, it'd be cool to be able to just hop on Dean Rojas's boat and he's there for 2 hours and you get 5 minutes to go around the corner. You can cast his frog rod.
Yeah.
And the new reel with it. And he can say, hey, here's what I like about it. Here's a tip. And now you know when you purchase it, whether it be from Tackle Warehouse, Academy, Bass Pro Shops, you have now used that product and know what you're getting. Because how hard is it, like, if you haven't seen a rod, actually, every fast action is like a pant size. It's every little bit's different, right?
Yeah.
Every reel feels a little bit different. If you haven't cast a Mitanium and you're used to a Revo, there's differences between those two. So, yeah, I agree. I think you were onto something there.
Yeah. So we'll see on that. All right. Brad in East Tennessee wants to know, what was the trip to the bank like?
Oh, it was non-eventful.
You didn't get a toaster, no popcorn, no nothing?
No toaster, no popcorn, nothing.
Jeez, man. That was pretty fat check there, Matthew. And no love from the bank of your choice, whatever that is. There's so many of them here in Oklahoma. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, man. Some people are giving us grief about Baker Mayfield.
He's having a little bit of a down year. Yeah. But I have faith that he'll turn it around.
A lot of props on the dog story yesterday, man.
Yeah. No, I like that was a crazy story.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of those. Would you not agree weird stuff happens to me?
All the time, man.
Not weird, but I mean,
in a good way.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, in a good way. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break. Bad weather coming in.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I haven't even noticed it.
Yeah. Yeah. When's your next Derby?
The 16th.
Did you hear that? I said it.
Derby.
Yeah. Remember, the guys on the West Coast can't stand that. I apologize to the West Coast peeps. When's your next tournament?
16th.
I
guess it's a tournament.
What is it?
Podunker's MLF format. Every fish counts.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You got the app on your phone. I fish all 3, Mark. Bass Nation, Podunkers, MLF, minor league fishing, and
what do you get
well,
if
I
you
guess
win?
I fish both, not all three.
What do you get if you win?
I get $1,000.
All right.
It's pretty good. $100 buy-in,
All right.
entry fee.
All right, very cool. Hey, do you think any company will jump on our idea there on the demo events? It'd be pretty funny.
No,
if
I
it
think
did.
if there's a little niche where it works out, and you're gonna have some guys in the studio anyway, and I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to it, but I think
it's pretty easy.
I think it would be better more so than the companies with the $3 and $4 baits that you're gonna buy without any kind of vested. Yeah, you get a bait and it sucks. Oh well, it sits in your box. But
Yeah.
I'm talking about like if I'm gonna spend $300-400 on a combo, on a reel, on a rod, it's gonna be worth it for me then to go out, to test it, to make some casts, some pitches, to talk to the guys who designed it, to learn why. Now I've got
Get that
more vested
interaction.
interest in it. Now I understand why I'm buying it, why I like it, and what it's going to feel like.
Yeah. I could see 3 or 4 pros getting together and doing this on their own, too. Demo days to help give their sponsors a little bit of engagement, you know, team up with 4. Maybe you can't get the whole team there.
You just put your boat in the water and hang out.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to roll out and check out the new lubes?
Yeah.
You want to check out the new ducket?
There
Sure.
you have it, folks. More ideas coming from us right here on BTL. Coming back with Zell Rowland. Everybody stay tuned.
Serious about catching fish, that HDS is a dead giveaway. You've got the best fish finding sonar money can buy. Time to build the ultimate fish finding system with live sight sonar. See what your lure is doing in real time. Watch fish strike as it happens. See for yourself. Take the Live Sight Sonar 30-day challenge. If Live Sight Sonar doesn't help you find and catch more fish, send it back, no questions asked.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com. We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Guys, Gerald Swindle, Sunline Pro Staff. If you're a flipper, a slackline hook setter, you're really putting a lot of impact into your hook set, look for the shooter. It comes off the smooth, really smooth. Like when you're flipping, it is smooth. If you're gonna be drop shotting and cranking, Sniper's the deal, man. It seems like it's a little bit less likely, like on a sharp hook set, it don't seem like it likes it as much. But for coming off the spool on spinning rod, leaders, cranking, like if I'm gonna throw a big plug at Gunnersville, I've still got strong tensile strength. It's not gonna give out on me, but yet the line's thin enough it'll get down. So to me, shooter takes a hook set, Snipers for everything else. So if you're gonna slack line them, go shooter.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
I got my power pole down, stuck in the mud in the bottom of the lake, sitting so still in the wind and the waves, could even be a hurricane. I got my power pole down.
Hey guys, Cliff Perch here with AFCO. I've got the new Camo Hooded Reaper. It's going to be a great thing both for fishing and hunting this fall. I can tell you a couple of the features about it. Got the face mask like all the Reapers do, vented in front. It's got the fleece on the inside, so it's really comfortable. It's super warm. When you come down to the pocket, it's got this little snap system called Block Tapey, and it's silent. You know, it doesn't make that sound that other snaps and other systems that hook it together make. Great for hunting, and it's going to keep that stuff in your pocket.
All right, we are back on a Wednesday. One more show this week. And very excited about our next guest. Dude, I was going to have a prop, and I forgot to get it. You know what's in the office? Remember what's in the office?
What is in the office, Mark?
It's very large.
The big topwater?
Yeah.
Think he gets tired of everyone talking about that? Or do you think that's his... I mean, because that's his moneymaker.
That's it.
It's just weird how, I mean, like, you get a guy, and then it's, like, synonymous with one thing. Well, obviously, there's a lot of damn derbies that they don't bite a popar or a spook in. It's just like Rojas with the frog.
Yeah.
Or KVD with a crankbait. But there's certain guys that just get married to one lure, and then regardless of what it is for the next 20 years... that's what they're attached with. I mean, Zell could be the world's best big glide bait or drop shot fisherman, and we wouldn't know because all everyone wants to talk about is a feathered treble hook popar.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of the young anglers do not realize who Zell Rowland is?
No, they know.
You think?
Yeah. He's a legend.
I agree.
And I'm not saying that just because he's on the air right now waiting for us to bring him in.
I just think a lot of the high school guys don't know the significance and the impact that Zell has had on this industry.
Well, if you say that, then you would have to say that they wouldn't know the impact that Paul Elias had on it, or the
No, I
impact
know that. I think that's different because of what went down with the Alabama rig. I think every high school kid...
that was almost 10 years ago, Mark.
I know.
High school kid? You think a high school kid remembers when he was 9 years old that Paul Elias was the one who blew that up on Guntersville Bridge in 2011?
I think it was that significant of an event. I really do.
I don't know. Zell's been making a push into the social media. I see he's had some videos. He's got some kind of trap music behind it. He's got like the introductions.
All right, let's bring him in. Zell, you there? You there, man?
I'm here, Mark.
All right, you heard us talk. Man, so much to talk about, but I want to kick things off. Let's get right into what Matt and I were just discussing. Do you think the average high school angler knows about Zell Rowland?
I think some do. That the more high school anglers that are more serious than others. because they really, instead of doing their math homework, they're doing their fishing homework. And they get, some of them are very, very outstanding anglers. I've been fortunate enough to be in the boat with a few of them and fish with some of them. And I know at the college level, they're very educated about who's who. And as they progress in the fishing industry, they get the knowledge.
All right.
I think it's absolutely true, though, because it's not in fishing, your career is so much longer. It's not like an Ozzie Smith deal where it's like, oh, you were a great shortstop, but now there's 3 generations. I mean, like we just said before, you fished in the 1980 Bassmaster Classic. It's generational. I mean, once you're established, you're there a lot longer than any other professional athlete.
Yeah, I mean, the sport is really, it's not like golf. It's not like football or basketball or any other type of sport. There's really you could say a lot of the legends in the sport, Roland Martin, Larry Nixon. There's really not a certain time you could say, okay, they're out and we're in, and because it's a sport of longevity. But most of the guys, once they reach their mid-70s in age, they're probably they don't get tired of the fishing. It's the road miles they eat up every year.
What are you, 62 now? 62, Zell?
Yeah, I'm 62. Everybody tries to put me as an oldie, but I feel like I'm 38. When I look at Paul Elias and some of them guys, I go, golly, I'm in great shape. I'm 10 years younger than them.
How old were you when you started, like your first full professional year?
Was in 1980.
So you were, this is a fishing podcast, not math. How old were you?
Probably, I think I'm wanting to think about 18, 19 years old.
Oh, I didn't realize you started
19.
that young.
Yeah, he was 19.
So that's like the same, along the same path as like Gary Klein.
Oh yeah, Gary and I, even though we have highly respect for each other, we were like mortal enemies at that age.
Really? You were teenage mortal enemies with Gary Klein?
Oh yeah, it was who's gonna whip whose butt next week.
Wow.
But,
just the young guns on the tour.
Oh yeah, we were the 2 youngest guys out there fishing, and he's one heck of an angler. I mean, I've been in the boat with him many times, and he understands the philosophy. The old saying is, if I had to depend on fish for food, I probably would not starve to death. It's catching 5 that weigh 25 that might make you starve to death.
Wow.
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
I could just picture that. Then there's Rick Clunn, who's 10 years older, probably looking down, going, "Look at these 2 cocky kids out
and Roland,
here." Yeah,
Jimmy,
yeah,
all those guys.
Well, I got to when I was growing up, high school football was a big thing for my father, and if we didn't play high school football, there's 4 boys in my family, and 3 of us played football. If we didn't play football, I didn't get gas for my boat. So
wow.
I made sure I was on the football field every other day, other than when the fish were really biting.
Like big time Texas high school football.
Oh yeah. I played. I got to play against Earl Campbell when he was the Tyler Rose up in Tyler in the state championship, and he was like a locomotive train. And we hardly ever lost a game, but when we played against that guy, he was like an ant trying to tackle a semi-truck. And, my linemen, all my linemen were country boys. I mean, they were big guys. My center weighed 300 pounds. So I really didn't have to worry about getting touched that often. But those big defensive linemen that we had, they couldn't tackle him. I mean, he would carry 3 or 4 of them guys down the field as he walked.
So did you say you were you're a quarterback?
Oh yeah, I can throw a football.
Did you know that, Mark?
No, I had no idea. What high school was it?
Conroe High School.
Wow.
You know, it was really funny because last year we were jacking around, and I went over to the service yard. I usually don't make them guys work on my boat. I usually just get the part and fix it myself, so I know where everything's at. But they were tossing a football around, and one of them said, "Man, you played football?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You quarterback, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you think you can still throw it?" And I said, "Man, I hadn't thrown a football probably in 39 years." And he said, "Would you throw one?" I said, "Yeah, give me that ball. I'll throw it." And the guy took off running. He ran down there about 10 yards and stopped. And I said, "What'd you do that for?" I said, "You need to take off running and tell me what shoulder you want me to throw it over." He said, "Well, I want it over my left shoulder." I said, "Well, just stick your hands out." And he took off running, and he got out there about 35 yards, and I let it go. And it landed right dead in his hands over his left shoulder. And all them guys in the service yard, they said, "Man, you want to throw some more?" I said, "No."
So you
said, "That's it." You know.
You said Conroe High School, like where the lake is, right?
Right.
So Klon guided on Conroe for a while. Were you playing high school football while he was guiding on Lake Conroe?
Believe it or not, it was me and Rick Klon and Randy Fight, Rick's brother. We all 3 guided out of the same marina. I guided when I turned 17. I started guiding part time. When I wasn't playing football, I'd guide on the weekends, and I was around Rick when he won 2 of his 3 classics, and it was an honor to be around Rick because his train of thought when he's on the water. There's only 2 anglers I know in the history of bass fishing that I could set apart from everybody. And one of them is Rick, and the other one's Van Dam. Those are the only 2 anglers that I could really separate from everybody else and say these 2 guys are 3 steps ahead of the next guy. And because they can catch them, they can read the water well, and they have a sense to move when they need to move.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. All right, man. Let's talk about the present and the future, and then we'll go back to the past here in a little bit. But it's been a struggle on the water for you, Zell, the last 4 years on the FLW Tour. Now with all the changes, where are you at going forward in 2020, and what are your thoughts about at least your performance over the past 4 years?
Well, there's no doubt my performance has been about as bad as you can get. And I've had some personal things in life that I had to take some changes in, which took my mind away from what I do when I'm on the water sometimes, and all that's straightened out, and it's good to go. Last year, I felt like I didn't have what I'd call a very profitable year where I could make any money, but my fishing was probably 70% better than it was the year before and the year before that. So I'm really looking forward to the upcoming year and the changes. There's only 2 games in town right now to play, and you're either going to go fish bass or you're going to fish FLW. And since I was eliminated out of the elites, it would be extremely hard for me to go make a living fishing the opens. And, winning, a lot of people, and you know this, Mark, I mean, and things you've done in life, you don't win a lot. You can be pretty consistent at what you do to make money. And, I look at winning a tournament a lot different than a lot of other people do. I consider winning an event, whether it's a bass event or an FLW event or a bass club tournament. That, to me, is an opportunity that you have while you're fishing. And if you fish at 100%, you don't lose a fish, you don't jump one off at the boat or miss one with your hands or swing one in the boat and it comes off. If you catch every fish that bites you in 3 days of fishing or 4 days, you have fished 100%. Now the question is, did you make the moves during the day at the right time to catch a 4-pounder here and a 5-pounder here and a 4-pounder over there? And that's, the last 2 events I won was, I think the last one I won was at Santee Cooper.
No, it was Gunnersville.
Gunnersville.
Yeah, 2005.
And I was the only angler that week that made the move. And, I was catching them just like Van Dam was catching them. I mean, Kevin was catching them extremely good on the back edge of milfoil flats where the water was 6 to 8 foot deep. And when that water came up, it rose fairly quick. And, I mean, them fish swam to the bank like piranhas going after meat. And I figured out I made the move at about 10 o'clock in the morning on the first day of the tournament, and I probably caught 45-pounders. And I realized right then that I was the only guy on the bank. Everybody else was out on them grass flats, and I said, this is going to be a really good week. And it was just unbelievable how many fish. I was very, very honed in on where the fish would bite me. And 9 times out of 10, and you fished and had great days, 9 times out of 10, Mark, before you make the cast, the chances of you getting a bite are 80%. And so when you're really honed in on fishing and you really are focused, winning to me is an opportunity. And if you have that big one bite you or have 3 big ones bite you in a day and you catch all 3, you're putting yourself in the position to win. But 9 times out of 10, what I consider to be a great angler is one who is very consistent when he goes on the water day after day after day. If he can catch fish every day, regardless if they're big or small, he's going to be a good angler. And because he's learning to read the water, and things change. I mean, when you're driving a NASCAR, things don't change too much. You go around and around that track. And it's like watching football players play in the NFL. When the quarterback walks up to the line and he looks at the defense, he reads that defense, and he may call a different play while he's sitting under the center. And when he does that, sometimes they score a touchdown. And fishing is a little bit along them lines.
That's interesting. You mentioned, I want to bring it back circle where you talked about this year, how you kind of, even though it did not show up in the check cashing department, you got it together. You look at your finishes there where I think they were paying 60 Was it top 60 that got paid, I think? But you had a 71st, a 64th, a 66th, an 82nd, and a 75th this year. You look at any one of those tournaments, and you were one bite away in each one from going 5 for 7 as opposed to 0 for 7. I mean, that's one bite in any of those, Zell, and you're looking at Mark sitting here going, rejuvenated, 5 out of 7. And you're sitting there going, no, it's like 6 ounces away. And he's like, what's wrong?
Yeah, well.
Sometimes, I mean, I had great practice days in a lot of the tournaments I fished this year. And when I say great, I mean, they were outstanding. I mean, where I'd go out and I'd run over here and fish 100 yards, run over there and fish 200 yards, and I would catch 20 pounds in a day of practice. And, but I never got comfortable catching them the way I was catching them, because I'd catch only one here and one over there, and I go, this doesn't work. I mean, it was like when we went to Chickamauga. That lake has come on like fire, like Gunnersville did in the old days. And I didn't, you really don't want to fish off of past history, because a lot of those areas change from year to year to year. But the guy who finished second in that tournament, he caught him where I finished second in the Super Bass when Denny Breyer won over there. And I just wanted to kick myself, because he was the only guy that was up the river in some backwater, and he had it all to himself. And the reason I know that is I drew the co-angler that fished with him the second day, or the marshal. And I said, I want to ask you a question. I said, I am not going to run up the river, but I said, you fished with the guy that was leading the tournament. And he goes, yes, I was. And I said, all I'm going to ask you is, was he way up the river? And he goes, 50 miles. And I said, oh, my God. Because when he told me that, I knew right where he was. And I told that kid, I said, you had to go through a little opening in the bank, and when you went back in there about 2 miles, it opened up into a small lake. And he goes, that's exactly where he was at.
Wow.
I said, oh, my God. But I talked myself right out of, here's the scenario. And Mark's a very average fisherman. You fish quite a bit, Mark. If I was to ask you a simple question of where do the fish on a lake usually spawn first, or make the move to spawn first, your answer to me is going to be up the river.
Right. The warmest water.
And the warmest water. Well, the fish at at Chickamauga, the fish on the lower end of the lake were done pretty much. And so why would you run 50 miles up the river? So I didn't go. And it was just backwards from everything that you learn in 20 years of fishing. And it was just the opposite. So it's but you're fishing against a fish that has a brain, and it's like when you go deer hunting, you're dressed up in camouflage clothing, so the deer doesn't, even though a deer is colorblind, you blend in with his surroundings, and it's like fishing. You try to blend in with the surroundings and know where the fish are going to move and when they move. And but it was just the opposite. So, for you to fish off past history, a lot of times that'll crush you. And so this year, I took a little different approach at it this past year, and I fished water on Lake Kissimmee. I fished water at Chickamauga. I fished a lot of areas on these lakes that I ain't never fished before. And I've been to a lot of these lakes 10 or 15 times in my career. And I was able to catch a lot of fish, but I never could get comfortable figuring out how to catch 20 pounds 3 or 4 days in a row. And when you're not comfortable, you're not going to be in the zone.
All right, I want to give you a hypothetical, Zell, and you can elaborate if you want, or you can just go move on. Next question. You've made 16 classics, 16 Bassmaster Classics. If Bass decided that they were going to expand the Elite Series field, say to 100, and they were going to dole out exemptions for professionals that have been on tour on, be it the BP 150s or whatever it was, for at least 15 years and had qualified at least for 10 classics.
Jeez, this is a lot of exceptions.
Hang on.
Here. Okay.
All right. Would you consider, if they gave you an exception, to go back to the Elite Series?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's just being honest. I mean, I made my career fishing bass. I will probably live, to be honest with you, if you do the research right now, I'm the oldest life member of BASS that's still fishing. And I'm not fishing bass. And, but yeah, I tried to get in last year, or year before last, when the 75 guys from throughout the fishing industry made a move to go start up MLF. And I'd had conversations with Bass over the phone, and because I wanted to help them continue their branding, and it would help me with my sponsorship money. And they did not take any of the older guys. I don't think there was about 3 or 4 of us that wanted to really go back and fish bass. I know Charlie Ingram wanted to go back. I think Woo Daves would have gone back, and Guy Aker. I know he wanted to go back. Matter of fact, I think Guy's trying to he's fishing some of the opens, trying to requalify. But in my opinion, which everybody has one, this is a professional sport where people make a living doing it. And when you take a high-profile guy and you send him back to junior high school to compete, his sponsors ain't going to stay with him through that. They're just not. And the industry is so small. I mean, out of all honesty, there's not but about 4 major bait companies in this industry that, what I think could help really sponsor fishermen. And Predco Outdoor Brands being one, Berkeley being one, Normark, and Strike King. That's it. There ain't nobody else that can really afford to get an angler and pay him, what they know is justified for this guy to be able to go fish and make a living trying to do it. So you're talking maybe 15 guys in the industry divided up with 4 companies. And but I do a lot of things people don't see me do with Predco Outdoor Brands. I work with the engineers there to help them develop better baits than what they have. And we've got baits the world hadn't seen. And I'm telling you, that'd be some of the greatest baits ever tied on a fishing line. But you can only introduce so many baits a year. You can't bring 10 brand new baits out next year. And, it's like I helped them engineer the crank that's made by Booyah. It's a Pop-R with a weight clip bill on the front of it. And they when I showed it to them, they said, "Man, you got to be kidding me." And I said, "No." I said, this is one of the greatest topwater baits I've ever fished with, and it is. I mean, it's the only topwater bait that would give you 3 options on how to catch a fish. You know how you throw a popper out there and you jerk it and you have one roll on it and he doesn't get it?
Yeah.
I'd bet you $100 bill on my second cast, I'm going to make him get it. Because I can swim it, jerk it like a jerk bait underwater. And when you pull the bait underwater, it swims like a fish. It doesn't swim like a crankbait. It swims like a fish. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get that fish to eat that bait on the second cast. And but anyway, when they saw that thing, my boss, who's younger than I am, of course, he looks at me and he goes, "I'll tell you what," he says, "if I do this, it's all going to be on you."
So how do you figure that out? What do you take how do you put a bill on the Pop-R? That's my first thing. What was the first to be like, oh, this is going to work?
Well, I'm always looking for new bait ideas. And what I mean by new bait ideas is I don't want to take a topwater bait and say copy one that Striking Lure Company may have. What good is that? You know, you want to make a bait that's better than what they have. And if you can make a bait that's better than what somebody else has, and people catch fish on it, then it's a home run. And I was sitting in my garage one day, and one of the bait engineers had sent me some old Rebel crankbaits that he had put a wake bait lip in, and the lip in them was very tiny. And I said, "Man, I wonder what that'd be like on a Pop-R." So I took a pair of pliers and wiggled that lip out of the bait, and then I took a Dremel tool and cut a slot in the bottom of a Pop-R, and it inserted right in there. So I took some super glue and glued it in there and went out and threw it in a golf course pond, and they would just choke it. And I said, "Oh, yeah, man, I might not ever tell nobody." but you know, I fished it on Rayburn, I fished it on Toledo, I fished it on Conroe, and it's such an incredible bait, because if you have never thrown one, it's the only topwater bait I know that you could probably throw in a hole in the lily pads and crank it with 2 sets of treble hooks on it, and it'll swim through the lily pads and not hang up on the stems.
Interesting.
I mean, it's really unbelievable. But you know, I'm working on baits for them right now. We got lots of bait. Matter of fact, when I hang this phone up, Mark, you can think of me, because I'll be headed to Sam Rayburn to fish for the next 3 days.
All right. All right. Hey, I have a history question, and I'm curious, do you know where, or does it even exist, the original prototype for the Pop-R?
Yeah, I got some.
Do you really?
Yes, I do. Don't ask.
No, I would love. You know what you need to do? You need to take a picture of the original prototype and throw it out on social media. I would really like to see what the original prototype looked like.
I mean, it don't have a lot of the paint left on it.
Really?
Oh yeah. No, I've got some of them, and matter of fact, it's funny that you asked about that, because we're working on several new baits right now, and you'll see it at the Bassmaster Classic. You'll see one of that they're going to bring out. But I was asking the engineer. Matter of fact, that's who I'm going to be fishing with the next couple of days, and I asked him. I said, I said, all these companies that we've bought, I mean, they have bought Hedden and Booyah and Bill Norman, Little Ends, and Smithwick. I said, I know. I said, what'd y'all do with all the stuff that they had when you bought them? And they bought it into Pradco Outdoor Brands and at the home office there in Fort Smith, and they had the room under lock and key. I mean, nobody could go in that room. And I said, what's in there? They said, oh, man, that's all the archive stuff. I said, really? So I got to go in the room, but they wouldn't let me go in there by myself.
Really? You didn't pick the lock? Sneak in after hours?
I got a guy that works there. His name is Danny. And I call him the motorcycle hippie because he rides his Harley to work every day. He's got to be in his mid-60s. And Danny is one of the greatest painters I've ever seen as far as painting a fishing lure or matching a color. And I ran into him while I was there, and I said, Danny, I said, you got a key to every door in this building, don't you? He said, yeah. I said, let's go back here in this room that's got a deadbolt on it. So he took me back there, and I walked in there, and it was worse than a kid in a candy store. And I said, oh my gosh, just to see the baits that people made 50, 60 years ago is incredible. I mean, it really is. I said, y'all need to buy a building somewhere around here and open up a museum. Yeah. And because people would love to see the stuff that, Mark, I don't even know if you're old enough, but when I was growing up, Cream Worms used to make a worm with a spinner on the front.
I remember that.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Man, that was the fish catchingest sucker I ever had growing up. And then when they came out with bullet weights and hooks, I didn't know how to even rig one of those.
Wow. Zell, do you think that because obviously your topwater expertise and everything that you've done with the Pop-R and the Zara Spook and everything, do you think that people underestimate your skills in other areas when you're fishing? And does it frustrate you that you have this over association with topwater and people don't realize that you're a stick when it comes to other things too?
Oh yeah, when I was growing up, Mark, and I was fishing, I got the opportunity to fish with what I call true legends of the sport, like Rick Clunn and Denny Breyer and Tommy Martin and Larry Nixon. And, I mean, I cut my teeth at a very young age being around those older guys. And I learned so much from them. It was incredible. But one of the biggest, it's something when you win a tournament on a particular bait, I don't care if it's a jig or some type of creature bait, flipping. If Denny Breyer was to go win a tournament, or I was to go win a tournament flipping like I did at Gunnersville, I caught 80% of my fish on a Booyah bankroll jig now. And 85% of the people that were fishing there they all just took into consideration Zell's catching them on a popper.
Yeah.
And which in some sense is a good way because none of them are going to pick their flip sticks up.
Yeah.
But it's like when Tommy Biffle catches them. The first thing you think is he caught him on that bait he drags around on the bottom. and I mean, that's, if Denny Breyer catches them, they're all going to tell you that he caught them flipping the bushes somewhere.
Yeah.
And back in the early days, if Denny caught them, you could almost bet that he was up the river somewhere hiding in a hole whacking on them in 2 foot of water.
Wow.
So it's really, Larry Nixon knows me very well, and we fished a tournament at Lake Eufaula about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was an FLW event, and Larry's been fishing FLW now for multiple years, and I come in to weigh in, and I had about 17, 18 pounds, and Larry had probably 13, 14 pounds, and he looked at me, and we're standing in weighing line. He goes, "I know you're catching them on a popper." And I looked at him and sort of smiled, and I said, "The problem is you don't have one of the ones I got."
All right, two more quick questions, and then we'll let you go, Zell. This is a selfish question. I want to know: is there a chance that the 3-hook spook makes a comeback?
I've been trying to get them to do that, and when I get back from Rayburn, I'm gonna work on your little Christmas present. But I got to give it to you in February. But I've tried to get them to bring it back. I would like to see them bring it back. I fight for it all the time. And if they bought it back, I don't know if they would put it in the booyah line or keep it in the heading line, but you just don't miss fish on that bait. Very seldom, if one hits the bait, you catch them. And that I don't know if that bait will come back or not. It might. If I fight hard enough, long enough, which I do all the time, they know they know that I make them. And matter of fact, to give you something that's really interesting, Chad Warner at Pradco Outdoor Brands is my boss, and Chad said, "Man, I got something I want you to do at the Bassmaster Classic this year." And I said, "Really?" Usually when he says I got something for you to do, it's probably not real good, but you got to do it. And I said, "What is it?" And he says, "How long does it take you to modify a Pop R?" And I said, "Well, if I can do it with a Dremel tool and some sandpaper, I'm going to say 25 to 30 minutes per bait." He said, "Really?" He said, "How long would it take you to paint one?" I said, "Well, it depends on how fancy you want it. If you just want it pretty, I can probably paint it in 15 minutes. And he goes, "Well, that's perfect." I said, "What's perfect?" And then he goes, "When you come to the Classic this year," he said, "I'm thinking about putting you behind some plexiglass and let you show people how you modify a Pop R." And I started thinking about it, and I said, that's a pretty good idea, because you're going to sell a lot of them baits, because most people, unless they've ever done it, it would take you 8 or 10 of them to get it where you don't need a hole through the side of the bait. But so it'll be interesting.
All right, last question. If next year, sometime in 2020, if you could do a round table where it would be you and 3 other anglers to just sit around and tell stories, who would those 3 anglers be?
Oh, I'd be at the top of their list.
Well, I know. Who would you like the 3 other anglers besides yourself to be?
I would like Larry Nixon. Some of them stories we can't tell.
I got it.
I'd probably say myself, Larry Nixon, Randy Fight, which is Rick's brother, and Van Dam.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting choices. Very interesting choices. All right.
We would have so much fun. It's like if I wrote a book, I'd have to leave the country.
Wow. All right, Zell, man. I really, really appreciate it. I know it's been like 7 or 8 years since we've had you on the show, but a lot of people out there wishing you the best in 2020, and hopefully things will go much better for you this year. And great talking to you. Can't wait to see you. And I can't wait for Santa Claus to make a visit to me in February.
Oh, I know. I have to apologize because you've asked me and asked me and asked me. And, I'm getting older, so I might have a little dementia. I forget.
All right.
I'm going to take care of you, and I will definitely see you at the Bassmasters Classic this year.
All right, man. Take care, Zell.
All right, Mark.
All right, man.
Thank you.
See you. All right. There you have it. Zell Rowland. Wow. Good stuff, Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow. Can't wait to get those 3 hook spooks.
Yeah.
I would really like
a great interview.
I would like to see how he does it. And that idea that Chad Warner came up with.
Great idea.
Great idea. Great idea. Now, can the average angler duplicate what Zell would do?
That's what he said. He said it'll take him 8 to 10, so the sales will be through the roof because they'll have 8 pop-bars with holes through the sides. So
I know.
No, I did not know any of that older stuff about. I was just putting 2 to 2 together with the Conroe and all that stuff, and I didn't know that him and Gary, could you imagine them as the young teenagers? Because I always, Gary to me is the first guy who really came out and said,
they were enemies.
Gary was the first Sheldon Collins.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
But now you know it was
the
him
first
and
guy
Zell.
who came out of high school and went, I'm fishing.
Yeah.
And Zell was right there, and then I was putting that together with the Rick Clunn, so very cool dude.
All right, let's do this. 4th show this week, man. And very excited to pick the brain of Mr. Al McCullough on some of the stuff that he has going on.
You're taking the lead on this one. This is more of a business inquiry, but I will be listening very interestingly because this is something that affects me. This is something that...
Could you make a decision to pony up $30,000 and do this, maybe?
It depends on how the interview goes tomorrow. It depends if I would even get an invite.
I think that might happen.
I don't know.
Could happen.
Can they get 125 guys?
I don't know, man. I don't know. All right. We're going to find out more tomorrow. Great week so far, folks. Thank you once again to all the fans. Keep the reviews and ratings coming in, comments, all that good stuff. Greatly appreciate it. And I am working on something very cool, Matthew. Just a little tease. Not for a guest, but it's an idea and a concept that I'm coming up with for 2020 for BTL. And we may talk a little bit about it tomorrow.
Okay.
See, we're kind of out of time. We're running way, way, way behind today. So tomorrow, Al McCullough, everybody be safe. We're out of here.